gave the beginning.
Other than obviously highlighting and bringing awareness to company that Windsor's very proud of, what was the purpose of this visit here today? Obviously, no real announcements happening today, but what was the reason that you came to Windsor today?
She's confused.
Well, you gave the beginning of the answer in your question.
But I was going to let this play all the way through. This is like this is Bart Simpson doing the book review of The Pirate and the whatever, and Bart's like, well, as the title indicates, the book is about a pirate. And can we just appreciate 5 seconds of awkward silence?
Announcements happening today, but what was the reason that you came to Windsor today?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, you gave the beginning of the answer in your question.
I'm just going to let it play now.
Ricoh is a company that people in Windsor know about and are proud of.
It's Kamala Harris. This is Canada's Kamala Harris.
I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a boost, a little bit of the spotlight and the cameras and the reporters that comes with me being here. I'm also really glad.
I wanted to give you a boost. I wanted to give you some stardom with the cameras that come with me. The Krista Freeland. Her and Justin Trudeau. I just had a very dirty image in my. Oh my God, her and Justin Trudeau. They get along for a reason.
To support a company that is led by a woman. There aren't that many.
There aren't
in this
that
sector,
many.
And I do think it's important for women leaders to support each other. So
awesome. Now talk about Jody Wilson-Raybould, Krista.
Sort of freely and openly admit that was an extra little asterisk and incentive.
Look at the person behind her. Oh my gosh, is that pathological verbal diarrhea? You were almost lucky, people. I was almost going to start with Matt Walsh and one of the answers he gave to some congressional testimony. Okay. Tonight we're going to be in for a learning curve for me, not for you, but maybe for you as well. I don't know what Hogwarts is. I don't know what a lot of the stuff that the younger generation talks about these days are. Vomitus is right, nature lover. Vomitus is right. Okay, so standard disclaimers. We're probably going to end this, at some point soon on YouTube. Go exclusively to Rumble. Tonight's sidebar, Nina Infinity, might be operating in the realm of the interwebs that some of you are less familiar with. There will not be only politics tonight, but there certainly will be politics, and there will be scandal, and there will be transphobia, because I understand that that's what's ultimately behind this whole Hogwarts game frenzy, that people are boycotting J.K. Rowling. Because J.K. Rowling basically came out and said boys have penises and girls have vaginas, and that's radical. That's Orwellian, radical, wrong speak these days. I simp for Nina. Okay, all right. Now I see everyone's in I see Barnes is here. I see Nina's here. I'm gonna bring Barnes in first. Then I'm gonna bring Nina in. Then I'm gonna go to the bottom so that when I bring up a comment like this, will there be drinks? I was thinking about it. There won't be drinks, but your dog is showing it himself. All right, we're on. We're live. Nina, Robert, how go your respective battles?
Hi. It's going. Yeah, it's going good.
Okay, so this is ordinarily I know more about a guest in terms of, scandals, history, upbringing, but Nina, it's not for lack of trying. Briefly, when we were talking before we even got started, you mentioned you're Canadian. I don't even think I knew that much. But I've watched a lot of your videos today. Who are you? 30,000-foot overview. Before we get into childhood, which looks like it wasn't that long ago because you seem to be very young and new to the interwebs.
Oh my.
And
that's a compliment. That's a real big compliment because I'm old. I'm very old.
Okay, I wasn't going to ask, but now I might have to go. I'll have to go to Nina, so 30,000-foot overview for those who don't know who you are.
Okay, so I'm Nina Infinity. I'm going to start at childhood. I was when I was 10 years old. I was born in Iran, moved to Canada with my mom at 10 years old. We immigrated there, single mom. Great times, Vancouver, shout out, West Coast. Then my life moved along and I was fine, happy camper, all that good stuff. Then Canada started to crumble before my eyes. I got married. I moved out a little bit further than Vancouver, went to the suburbs, getting away from the concrete jungle, the city. But the fascism and the creeping craziness kept following me. And I was like, you know what? Me and my husband decided to move out to Mexico. So now we're in Cancun, Mexico, been here for 6 years. I am now a permanent resident of Mexico as of last week. And I love it. And it's fantastic. And I can't recommend it enough. It's amazing. But that's me. That's me in like a very small nutshell. And I have a YouTube channel, Nina Infinity.
How hard was it to escape Iran?
Well, for me to escape, not that hard because I was 10 and I was just kind of like dragged along. Not that difficult. But at the time, my mom had to know how to speak English. We needed $10,000, and then we immigrated, and that was it. It wasn't that difficult, but it was also not that easy because $10,000 at the time was a lot of money. So we had to like borrow from family and stuff.
You left when you were 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So you have active, conscious memories of what childhood was like in Iran.
Oh, absolutely. I did the whole chanting to the Death to America chant for 15 minutes a day. I did, all the stuff that you hear about in the news. I mean, stuff has gotten better, a lot better since then for Iran, especially the education system there. Because that was in 85 that I was born. So 85 was during the Iran-Iraq war. So I was not, when I was like 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, early 90s, it was kind of a difficult time at the time, but things have improved much since then. But at the time, because they were still trying to indoctrinate the kids, there was a lot of, death to America, death to the West, things like that we had to do.
So we found our scandal. There's a little Nina saying "Death to America" somewhere out there.
Yeah.
Are you joking about the 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, or was it a ritualistic? It was a government imposed ritualistic thing that.
Oh, absolutely. Because I wasn't, and of course it was an all girls school, and then all girls school, all boys school. We would go there at very early in the morning. I had to get up like 5 a.m. to catch my bus. Went there. 6 o'clock, you line up in kind of like, North Korea style, prison style lineups. And then they kind of give you speeches of the day, what is all about, blah, blah, blah. Then you do like the 15-minute chant of just like Death to America, which, I'll say in Persian, Magbat America. So, it's kind of like that's the thing. So you say that, and then you move on. Like they tell you like what your class is on, blah, blah, blah. And then you go on with your day. And of course, the curriculums there were insane for a child my age. When I moved to Canada at 10, I could do calculus math. Equivalent to basically like grade 12 math, early, like very, very hard grade 12 math, like I don't know what they're called, like the top class in grade 12 now, but those ones, and then and I couldn't speak English, but they were like, "Can you tutor kids?" Because they weren't even at like fractions and stuff at the time, so it was pretty funny.
What inspired your mom to leave?
Because she didn't want me to be raised as because I was a female, and my mom and dad weren't very into the Islamic thing. They were actually they were the ones that got tricked. They were a part of the communist kind of crowd, and they understood that they got tricked, and they didn't like the Islamic Republic that moved there, infiltrated, and they wanted to get out as much as anybody else. That's why a lot of people left. Because of the war.
Let me ask, when they're getting you to chant "Death to America," and I know, like, it's almost like something people say and they don't have any malice when they say it. Are they instilling malice when you say it, or are the kids just laughing?
Oh no, well, here's the thing. It depends on your upbringing as well, because it equals with home upbringing. So if you're into part of the Islamic family or whatever, you might be really into it. Whereas in me, because of my upbringing, my mom, shout out to my mom, who's probably watching right now. I love her. She introduced me to all of the, the Hollywood movies and Hollywood, like everything that came from the West. And we, at the time, There, like, movies were not allowed in Iran, so we had to have like this guy come to our house with a suitcase full of movies and be like, hurry up, like, pick your movies, let's go, like, it's time, like, I gotta get out of here. He was like this cab driver, and so he would come in and like give us Disney movies, like bootleg Disney movies and all this kind of stuff. So I got familiarized with the West's stuff because of that, and I realized, hey, women in that country, they don't have to cover themselves, they can sing, they can do all these things. Like, why are they being vilified here? Like, it seems like such a great place. This place doesn't seem very good. So I started getting kind of indoctrinated in my own way into the West. So then when I went to school, whenever I had to do like the Death to America chant, I would say in my head, I love America. I love America. I love America. So I would say Death to America, what I would think, I love America. And my mom was always like, please make sure you don't say that out loud, though, like just make sure you don't say, we can get arrested, we could get killed, things like that.
Right.
And don't tell anyone we got in Disney movies. Don't tell anyone you got the movies. Don't tell
What would've
anyone
been the-
about the stuff.
What would have been the punishment for the guy giving you the DVDs? Like, was he facing would he-
Jail, death.
And my God.
Yeah. The
My mom too. My mom and dad, jail, death.
Right. I mean, people underappreciate what that life is like. It is startling, in particular, given how extraordinarily rich, deep, and historically tolerant the Persian culture is, going back centuries after centuries after centuries. Frankly, it was the one that helped moderate the first Islamic republics in the region, take it in a more intellectual direction. Math, in terms of math, literature, history, so many rich tapestries, if you will, of the Persian culture. Of course, I was sneaking things around today. I was here in Philadelphia. I was sneaking around some delicious farm fresh milk from AmosMillerOrganicFarm.com. So if you're out there, you want some delicious, true farm fresh milk, AmosMillerOrganicFarm.com. I was up there yesterday. Man, it's real milk. It's true milk. But it's weird, like going around. Can I sneak a little bit? Can I? It's like I was doing shots of cocaine in the back or something.
Because it's illegal, right? Like, is it the illegal milk, the non-homogenized? Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
No pasteurized, it's just good old delicious right from the cow.
Yeah, man. I wish I had some of that.
I still, Robert, I'm gonna have to taste it one day. I loathe milk. I don't think there's anything that's gonna make me like milk, but I'm up for a dare.
You'll like it when you taste the real stuff, Viva.
Oh,
absolutely. Now, so is that where your love of films and the great traditions of Western culture, is that where a lot of that started in terms of
Yep.
And how shocked were you when it started to go off the rails?
Oh my God. Very shocked. It's one of those things because, again, like being from Iran, you see some things like, and I saw Canada change before my eyes in a very, very unpleasant way. And I just, it was surreal. And of course, like, that aside, because Canadian entertainment is very different from American entertainment. But, because I was so familiar with American entertainment, I could see it starting to seep in. And I'm like, why is it like, what is this woke thing? And what does that mean to be woke? And what does this mean that, everything has to be female now? And as someone who's like, a female, I started being like, I'm sick of all these females. Why is there women like in everything and taking over the role of men? And the idea of understanding, because in my country, women were so belittled. It was really like kind of it was weird to see how women were being belittled instead of being propped up. So like feminism was dying. They were killing femininity in the same breath of saying, hey, we love femininity, but we're gonna kill it. We're gonna snuff it out. But same thing with masculinity. We're gonna also kill masculinity and pretend in the same breath of saying like we're gonna prop up, the good men or whatever that are like basically male feminists, because as long as they're like, into the women, female rights and woke and whatever, then men are good. And if they're drinking soy, then that's great. But if they're actually men and taking care of their families and the nuclear family, all that kind of stuff, it gives you all these messages in the media, in what you're consuming visually. And I started to really just ask a lot of questions. And I think for me, it started really when I was going to call him Jake Skywalker because that's like in my head now, but Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, when they killed him in the way that they did, like in like metaphorically, they killed Luke Skywalker and they made him into this just basically nothing, and he's the hero of generations. I started to have questions. I started to have a lot of questions.
Okay, I got 2 questions, 1 statement. First of all, it sounds like you probably had the coolest parents imaginable under those circumstances to take the risk to let you watch movies. Like my parents plopped me in front of a movie just so that I would stop annoying them because they had 4 other kids. The 2 questions were this: you leave at 10 years old. I have to ask the question: like, did you have any more traumatic experiences, witness more traumatic things in Iran that you recollect before in your childhood? And then the second question, just to get away from the bad memory, is what was your favorite movie growing up? But childhood experience, did you witness anything outright traumatic that you now come to the West and say you are all complaining about nothing?
In all honesty, no. My answer to that is no, because all of my other memories in Iran are fond memories. I love Iran. I love the Persian people. They're all great people. I mean, I saw like certain things. I was still 10. Like there were certain things I didn't really understand until later on in life, like certain ways that my mom would approach men, or that the way men would speak to my mom. There was things about the hijab, definitely, like everywhere we would go, especially women would tell my mom, like, cover your hair, like pull your scarf down, things like that, like very, very rudely, those kind of things. But I was so young that it didn't really bother me because I didn't have to wear them yet. Like I was a little girl. So, you don't have to wear it until you're 13, basically until you have puberty, unless you go to school. And in school, you have to wear it. In public, you don't have to. But otherwise, no. Most of it was very fond memories of my family and the Iranian culture and all that stuff. But of course, the government was always there, in the back, just kind of like watching you. And you always have to watch what you say. You always had to watch what you do, things like that.
Favorite movie as a
Favorite
child?
movie as a child was The Little Mermaid, because I remember the first time this will tell you, Viva, how old I am. We still had a non-colored TV at my grandma's house, so we would watch non-color movies, and she had the little dial on her TV and everything. And my dad got a color TV, and he got us a VCR. And he went to this little island called Quiche. It's in the Persian Gulf, and that they did the trades there. It's like trade zone. And so he brought us the VCR, and he brought us a copy of The Little Mermaid. And so when he put that in, and that was the first thing I ever saw, was the colorful images of The Little Mermaid. That was it. And I was like, and she talked about wanting to be part of your world and all that stuff. And somehow deep down inside, I was like, yeah, I want to get out of here too. I want to be part of that world, and about the West. So it really, I really identified with that story. And so The Little Mermaid is my favorite movie.
What do you think about the current Little Mermaid debate?
Oh my God. Well, I almost got canceled a few times on Twitter for that. Let's see. Hey, cancel me all you want. I just think that people that make movies about other things simply make the character look and feel the way that character originally was designed to look and feel like, no matter what that may be. I think it's a safe bet. Most of the time you will win over the fandom. Other people who wanted to see themselves in there, they don't necessarily, that's not a thing. That, like I said, like she was a redheaded white woman, fish woman, white half fish woman. And I identified with her as a Persian little girl. I don't see why nobody else would. So I think all they have to do is just stick to the characters. Same thing with Superman, Batman, every single iteration that you can think of, just stick to the character and you will be fine.
I have 2 questions actually there. You see The Little Mermaid in Iran, and so you're in a country where women have to cover up, their entire bodies, and you're looking at a half-naked mermaid with shells for nipples.
Mhm.
Is that when you start realizing something is very different
Hey,
in
the
Iran?
shell was the bra, okay? It wasn't the nipples, it was the bra. And yes, of course, that and Marilyn Monroe, that was like another movie. Madonna, like they were giant influences on me. I watched so many of these. I remember we watched music videos after some of the movies. There was music videos, and then La Bamba came on with like the girl with the mini skirt, like, you know, dancing around. I was like, women can dress and dance with men, like, whoa, this is so crazy. So of course I was like, it all influenced me in that way. I was like, I want to be pretty and dress up and all that kind of stuff.
And I should clarify, Robert, some people in the chat might not even know what the controversy was with The Little Mermaid, but they recast The Little Mermaid as a black actress for The Mermaid.
Mhm.
And it led to some stuff on Twitter. I remember it led to people saying, you know, you're rebranding an iconic character. Others were saying mermaids are fictional. How do they have skin color in the first place?
Mhm.
The interesting element of that debate is, as a kid, I used to watch Family Matters. I used to like Urkel, and I never used to say Urkel's a black kid or I'm a white kid and we have something different. I just looked at Urkel and said, the kid's funny. And I do wonder if young black kids, young Asian kids look at The Little Mermaid and say, I like her, but I don't relate to her in some way that is unknown to me. And so that was the whole scandal. Anybody out there who may not have known it.
Yeah, and even like some black people were kind of like, what's going on with her hair? Like that was one of the comments, because she's got like really weird dreadlocks, and some people started doing like what she would look like if they did the hair properly, like even like her, like the actress, like even like let's leave the skin color aside, let's just give her the proper hair, and the photoshops like looked better than what she looked like. And then everybody was and it was really, I remember like the pictures that came out from the trailer was like really dingy and dark and just like really super dark, and Little Mermaid is really bright and colorful, so everybody was like, well, why don't you just make it a little bit brighter? Like, why is it so dark and dingy? She's already a black person, so why are you making it so it's very dark and gray and, you know, whatever as well? It's not helping the outlook of what your movie is supposed to look like.
Now, when did you decide to get active in terms of in the culture commentator space and get on YouTube and all the rest? What inspired that?
That would be COVID, the lockdowns. Well, what happened was I found Gary from Nerdrotic's channel. Shout out to Gary from Nerdrotic. After Game of Thrones season 8 debacle disaster. And I was like crying because I wasted like 8 years of my life watching that show.
Yeah, that should be a death penalty price. There should be execution for the people who destroyed the Game of Thrones in that final horrendous season.
100%. And that would be Dan and Dave, where are they now? Where are they? Oh, we're going to do like Star Wars and we're going to do this. Nobody knows where they are because they sucked and no one's going to freaking hire them ever again. Thank God. But yeah, so I saw that and I was like, I'm crying. My husband was like, you should go check out this live stream that this guy's doing about the episode. Everybody's pissed. And I was like, oh, a live stream? Like, what's that? Like, I didn't know what a live stream was. So I went and I saw, and I was like, people are paying money to talk to people on the internet, on YouTube, and talk about this stuff. It's so weird. And so I got obsessed. With it. And then really shortly, so I started like follow all the channels, that Star Wars girl, you guys, Viva, Barnes, everybody. Like I started following Nick, Ricada, all of these channels. And then after a little while, COVID hit. And I was like, oh, like what the hell? Like, and all these girls people in the YouTube sphere got really familiar with me in the chats. So they were like, you need to make a channel and come and talk to us. So I did, but I wasn't really doing anything until quarantine. And, I started to be like, okay, maybe I should really actively start doing streams and stuff like that. And I got into it. And then here we are.
I think we're going to head over to Rumble in a second. I'm just going to give everybody the link, and they're going to head over to Rumble. The question is this, though, because we did skip over a big thing there now. Now that I know how old you are, you're 37 or 36.
38, just turned 38.
Can't do Viva, no math good. But so did you, let me ask the crass or the indiscreet question. Did you have a job before that you left? Like, we skipped a big period of time. You went to Canada.
Mhm,
95, you get to Canada. You go to British Columbia.
mhm.
When do you start seeing the writing on the wall in Canada? When do you leave? Under what circumstances? And what were you doing in life, professionally or for work, until before you started doing this?
I did a lot of stuff in Canada. I started I was in customer service for like 20 years. I worked for Future Shop when they went under. I was a salesperson in Future Shop. Got laid off. I was very devastated. Had so much debt. I was like just not in a good place. Then I went to Nintendo of Canada. I worked there for a while. I was their rep. It was good times. And then you start to see things, and during the same time as I started working for Nintendo, right before I started working for Nintendo, right after I got laid off, I was like, well, like, where am I going with my life? Because it seems like retail is really coming to an end. Like retail is starting to just kind of go out the door with the online shopping and everything like that. So what do I want? Oh yeah, and Blockbuster too. I worked at Blockbuster. That was good times. But I saw this thing because my husband was like, I don't like Canada because I always feel like no one's hearing me and like all this stuff. And so we talked about it, and we were like, let's do something, like go and get our certificates to teach English, because we were both really good at that. And so we went and did that, and he decided to go get a job abroad. And the company that we signed up for actually wanted to send him to China. And I was like, no, I'm not going to China. There's like no way in hell. I got out of freaking Iran because of their women's rights, and I'm never going back to that country. So why would I go to China? They're crazy and they're communists. I'm not going there. And he was like, well, where should we go? And I was like, why don't we try Mexico? Mexico sounds like a lot of fun. Let's go down there. We went down to Cancun for a vacation, just check it out. And we fell in love, and then we decided to just move here. Now, one of the things that happened was, because he moved earlier than I did.
Is he from Iran as well?
Yes.
Okay.
But he's Canadian. We met in Canada.
Okay.
And when I went to one of the months, I went to Cancun, and I came back. And one night, I saw this thing happen where there was no gas, Viva. All of the shelves were empty. I returned to a place that was like, it was like the end of the world. And this was pre-COVID, because the Kohala Highway had closed down. There was like some sort of snowstorm or something. And all the trucks, fuel, food, everything had stopped. And so there was like one gas station that had gas. It was the craziest thing. And I was like, is this like a sign? Like, what is happening in this country? Like, what is going on? I think I might have to really consider moving faster, because at the time I had a really good job at Nintendo. I didn't want to move, and I loved Canada. I was like, I love Canada. I don't want to move. And then I started to see other things. Like when I would go downtown and I would see all these like blue-haired people, and they were like really weird. And I was like, what is going on with this? And then I started to like really look into kind of like the whole gender identity thing. And then I realized, I found Jordan Peterson and what he was talking about. And I was like, what is going on with Canada and this whole hate speech thing? And people are starting to police your speech now. That's all sounds really familiar. I remember this. I was from this country where my speech was policed. This is all not leading down a good way. And my husband was seeing the same things. And that's why we were like, where should we go? Like anywhere but here. We got to get out. And we did.
Robert, before you get your question in, and now we're going to go to Rumble people. I could not figure out how to live stream simultaneously on Locals, so this will be on YouTube tomorrow in its entirety, and I'll upload it directly to Locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com with the milk. Removing from YouTube, carrying on exclusively on Rumble in 3, 2, 1. Changes nothing from our end, Nina. We continue talking. Robert, you were going to ask something.
What was the biggest surprise in coming from Iran to Canada?
The biggest surprise. Well, I came from Tehran, so it was really, it was a really big difference in terms of, because when I moved to Canada, like we didn't even go to Vancouver directly. We were like a little bit in the outskirts. It's a city called Langley. And at the time, it wasn't very built. Now it is. Now it's crazy. But you know, you could see the nature, the air, the clean air, just like everything being so clean and nice and just like pristine. And I think that was the biggest shock, like seeing rain for it was so funny because I was like, oh my God, it's raining. I'm so excited like the first time. And then it never stopped. And I was like, I hate this.
British Columbia is like, it's geographically among the most beautiful places on earth. Then politically, it's, you know, it's like California
It's
to
a
some
nightmare.
extent. Do you speak Spanish? Did you learn Spanish since you've
I'm
gone to-
learning Spanish now. I wish I could say yes to that, but I'm a beginner Spanish, but I am learning. I'm trying my best. So it's happening slowly.
And what was the biggest surprise in moving to Cancun?
Ooh, that it wasn't as bad as everybody said Mexico was. Mexico is a beautiful country with beautiful people. I learned all about the cartels. The cartels are very, very interesting. It definitely depends on where you are in Mexico and how it is at the location of where you are. I think the most surprising thing was how different it was than what it was portrayed to be in the West.
I will admit I have a fear of Mexico because I have a fear of everything south of the border. Just because when I determine where I go, I only look at.
Do you have a list, Viva, of the things you're afraid of?
Well, murder is on the top of the list. So I
Kidnapping,
intentional homicide rate, and that's how I make a lot of my decisions in life. I'd love to go to Mexico. I mean, Mexico.
Quick question though, Viva, have you ever been to Chicago?
I have, and I'm not sure that I'd go back now if I knew then what I know now. My wife, she's a neuroscientist, and they had these conferences in Chicago, and we went down. We stayed in the hotel, but even then, like, I didn't go out at night. We went to the Bean. We did some stuff during the day. And I knew better than to leave the hotel at night. But and when people say like Mexico's good, you just have to know what parts to avoid. It's like those are the things that I don't want to have to worry about. Like, don't get lost, don't go to the wrong gas station. But you've been there for 6 years. You left Canada actually before the poo-poo hit the fan with COVID, but after the poo-poo started hitting the fan with Justin Trudeau. Have you always been politically outspoken? I presume working at, and this is not to be demeaning at all, but working retail, you can't express anything internally or to people. So were you totally suppressed politically, and now you're liberated?
In Canada, I wasn't so much into politics as I am now. And even when I was into politics, I wasn't so much into Canadian politics. I was more into American politics. And the reason I was into American politics was because I was very much against the Iran-Iraq war. I mean, the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, and the Iraq war. So when 9/11 happened, I got involved. Like, I was just like, and I was in Vancouver. I was liberal. I was like, you know what? I'm going to the marches. I went to the Occupy. I went to all of that stuff, So that's what I got involved in. It was more to do with American politics. But then, Canada is a reflection of American politics. So at the time, we had Harper, and Harper was terrible. At least I thought at the time. And I wanted him to get out more than anything. So I voted for Trudeau, and I hate myself that I have to say that and admit that, but I did. But at the time, I liked his politics. I liked the party. It wasn't so much that I liked Trudeau. I liked the party, and I thought the party was the one to replace Harper. It did, but it didn't go very well.
I think most Canadians have made the mistake, Nina. I voted for Trudeau back in 2015 as well, for no other reason than liberal good, conservative bad, and that was the extent of my political decision making. And boy, howdy, I don't think my kids will make that same mistake, and I'll never make that same mistake again. So now you get into the YouTubes. I went back, I started watching the early stuff, and now I started watching the contemporary stuff, and it's just amazing to see people evolve. How did you decide what your niche was going to be? How'd you get into it, and how did you enjoy that experience?
It's been a wild ride. I started because I started talking with my friend John Talks. We did a show called Infinite Talk, and now he does little shorts on YouTube, just doing memes and stuff like that. But that was a really fun time, and we would just talk for hours about everything and nothing really. And I knew I liked entertainment, and I knew that the culture war was important to me. I think that because I was so affected as a child through media, I wanted to kind of point out what is going on and what I'm seeing going on in today's media, especially with properties that I love, like Star Trek, Star Wars, all the nerdy stuff, and even Doctor Who. Like there's so much. It's like which one isn't woke and crazy now, and it just I really wanted to talk about that. And I also wanted to talk about politics, but culture is downstream from politics. So it kind of like matches. And I figured I'll make a show called Breaking the Narrative, where I break the narrative about what's going on in the news. That's the one I had Barnes on. And what's going on in general with, clown world and everything like that. Now, at the same time, COVID hit. And of course, Canada shut down. And I wasn't even able to return. And that moment in time, I was fighting depression hard. It was really bad because I'm a very social person, and I loved Canada so much. And I always said, like, I'm never going to stop loving Canada. Canada's my home. But it was so bad, and I was fighting depression. And then, and I was kind of just wondering, like, when are the Canadians going to step up? Like, when is it going to happen that the Canadian spirit that I know through hockey and like all the stuff that we love, that passion of the Canadians is going to come out? And it finally did with the trucker convoy. And I was so freaking happy. And Viva, you're my hero, man. I was watching every single stream of you in the cold, and I could feel it, because I've been in that Canadian cold. I could feel it. I could see you. Like, so when you were cold, I was like literally feeling it with you. Like it was like a 4D experience. And you guys were my heroes, man. Like you freed the country. You did. You did it. You guys, Viva, the truckers out there.
It was I did nothing but witness it for myself, and it was the most outrageous what's the word, progression, where I didn't even know about the trucker convoy as it was coming through in December because nobody was talking about it. And then people in my chat started talking about it. Viva, why aren't you talking about it? Are you controlled opposition? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I Googled convoy and I saw one in British Columbia protesting road conditions. And then no one ever knew what it was going to possibly turn into.
Yeah.
But Nina, I don't know. In as inspirational as it was, I was devastated when Trudeau came in with his Chinese communist dictator boot and violently suppressed it. And we're going to see what happens with that commission. But Trudeau gets a sneak peek at the commissioner's report, like a 2-week sneak peek before the public gets it. Nothing can go wrong with that. So you're watching that and getting inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what's the first? Do you remember the first video that you did on YouTube?
Yeah, it was Dark. It was my review of Dark on YouTube, and it was terrible. It was awful. I was like on my little cell phone, and I love that show, by the way. Great show, everybody. You should watch it. Dark on Netflix. Fantastic show. But yeah, it was my first review, and then I started doing more reviews and stuff like that, and I started to do my political show. And then while I was doing my political show, and while I was fighting depression and all this stuff, especially this was even before COVID, like I was like, I cover so much politics and so much clown world that I really need a break. Like I'm one of those people. I'm a positive person in real life. I am really Canadian. I love people. I'm a nice person, and I'm just like, good people. I love good things. And I was like, I need to balance this crazy world out with some good news as well, because we never hear about good news anymore. Like, where's all the good people at? So I also started doing this show called Infinite Hope on my channel, which is just me talking about good people, good news, cute animals, anything that's good and not clown world. That's what I talk about on Fridays. And I think that's my favorite show, to be honest with you. It's my favorite one because it really helps you get away. Highly recommend it.
Now, in terms of the culture issues, have you been surprised at how crazy it has got in the space of who's making our television shows, our films, our comics, and the rest?
Yeah, sometimes I don't believe it. I don't believe sometimes what has happened to it. There's so much, intersectional feminism, so much, just pure cringe propaganda, state propaganda, like there's state sponsored propaganda. I mean, Canada got even worse. Like Canada's just like next level. I don't know if you're familiar with a show, Viva, called Kim's Convenience.
Is that I want to guess, is that about a convenience store?
Yes,
And it
it's
has
the
I think
Korean convenience store.
I don't think I've ever seen it except for commercials, but I don't even know when I would have seen a commercial. I think I know of it, but
So let's that's a perfect example of kind of like a Canadian show that's just completely went off the rails. So like it started out really, really good and funny and like just on point. You could see stuff like trickle in there, like, once in a while you get this like kind of woke joke or whatever. And then like fast forward to like I think season 3 or 4. I think it's 4. And I think the show got canceled shortly after this. Um Basically they turned the main girl lesbian for no reason. She was straight the whole time. And then all of a sudden it's like, "Dad, I'm lesbian. And if you can't understand that, then like you don't know me at all." And like, all this stuff. And I was just like, why? Like, what happened to this show? And it's like this happens periodically with every single show. It's like whatever show you can think of, all of a sudden it's like, by the way, our main character is gay. Another perfect example is this one right here. That's I'm a huge fan of Cowboy Bebop, the anime. And because I'm a huge anime fan in general. And when they did the Cowboy Bebop live action for Netflix, it was a complete and utter disaster because they just decided, first of all, to take the notes of the original creator, literally put it in the garbage and be like, "Hey, thanks, by the way, thanks for the notes, but we're not going to do anything you asked us to do." He just came out and he basically just shat all over the Netflix show and was like, "Yeah, I knew it was going to cancel. I watched like 2 minutes of it and I turned it off." That's the creator of the anime talking about this show. It's the same way they turned Faye gay in like the 10th episode or something like that. They were all of a sudden like, "Oh, by the way, she's lesbian and her character is supposed to be like a femme fatale, like uses her sexuality to get her ways and she's like super smart and blah, 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 blah." But all of a sudden it's like she's just this lesbian girl. And it's just like, why? Why is it everything? Why? Like, I'm just over this situation.
Yeah, that was a big disappointment, Cal. I mean, and there's been so many of those. I mean, the He-Man was terribly made by Kevin Williamson.
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith. I'm thinking of another Kevin that's also awful. Kevin
Mhm.
Williamson writes for the National Review and then over the Atlantic. And then now at like Bulwark or someplace. Maybe he's probably at the Daily Wire. But just to take a little slide shot there. But now, how did you end up in the middle or in part of or connected to the craziness that's been happening in the Eliza Blue story?
Oh, wow. Okay. Because I'm friends with Brittany Venti. And she kind of started this whole she set the motion. So I stream with a lovely lady called Chrissy Mayer. She does a show called Simcast on Sunday nights.
Great name, by the way. Smart.
Yeah, amazing. Great crowd. Love her and all the Simcast crew. So usually it's with her, Anna, that Star Wars girl, and Brittany Venti. So that's how I met Brittany. But so Brittany and I became really good friends. And then she's one of those people she's a little troublemaker. I love Brittany, but she is a little troublemaker sometimes. And so she
looks like a sweet, innocent nerd.
She really does. She's just this little, like, just, I didn't do anything, which she's like a little Woody Woodpecker though. You
know what? I don't suffer from this prejudgment of her because she reminds me of Amy Smart from Rat Race. And so I think she looks like her too. So I impute all of the saucy character of Amy Smart from Rat Race. Okay. That's the last adult movie I've seen.
That's hilarious.
Carry on.
But yeah, so I'm friends with Brittany, and then she tweeted out something at Eliza Blue, and I honestly didn't know who this Eliza woman was. I had seen her on Timcast. I can tell you that. I was like, "Oh, isn't that the woman from Timcast IRL?" I've seen her on Tim Pool. I've seen her on a few other places, but I didn't really know who she was, and I knew that she was supposedly an anti-trafficking advocate, which is a good thing. You should be an anti-trafficking advocate. But then I guess she claimed that she was trafficked. I didn't know. I didn't really look into it. But Brittany very, very casually brought up that somebody sent her something, like a thread. She looked into it and she was like, hey, can you please clarify this video that you did, Eliza, with this very graphic imagery? Can you give us a timeline of where you, like, you know, where is the trafficking timeline at? Because it doesn't seem to be adding up. And she very politely asked, and she's like, she even said, I'm so sorry if this brings up something and you've explained it before. If you have, just point me to the right place. Both tweets got wiped, suspended for badness. Like, you're not allowed to ask those kind of questions apparently of Eliza Blue. And so I was like, what? And so I went and retweeted Brittany's thing, and I was like, why?
This is a lesson in life. Like, this is not just gossip for those out there who say that this is gossip. This is a lesson in life that, like my brother used to say, when you step in shit, stop and clean it off. Don't go running around the house tracking shit all over the house. This went from someone stepped in poop, and I know there's the analogy fits in there somewhere, and now there's poop all over the place. So
Yes.
by doing that one little thing with Brittany Venti over a tweet that no one would have ever known about, could have been easily explained away, contextualized, the snowball starts to roll and pick up more snowflakes. So what did you do, Nina?
So I just retweeted her. I mean, I like, thankfully, I'm not one of the people that got suspended or anything. Like, I didn't get put in the doghouse, but a lot of other people did. Like Chrissy Mayer. Actually, no, Chrissy Mayer didn't either. But Eliza ended up blocking her, even though they were friends, because she just basically said, like, why is this happening? And then, but Anna, that Star Wars girl, got no, wait, not her. Yellow Flash got suspended. Quartering got suspended. And then a whole bunch of other people, Camelot, a bunch of other smaller accounts, but the biggest one was the Quartering. And after that happened, it was like, well, what the heck is actually going on? Because he stuck his neck out for Brittany, and usually he does that. Jeremy's good people, and he's always kind of stood up for the smaller content creators, no matter what they go through. If there's, like, you know, lawsuits or anything like that, you know, he covers that kind of stuff. So he did, and he got suspended, and that's what happened.
Yeah, it's fascinating watching this community. How did you get connected to this entire sort of culture commentator community? The neurotics, the geeks and gamers, the Ryan at RK Outpost, the Simpcast, the Chrissy Meyer, the Brittany Ventis, the obviously the Quartering, that's a big influence within that space. How did it's been fascinating to me watching this sort of organic growth of people who the only thing that have in common, like that Star Wars girl, when she said she isn't political, I was like, well, a lot of people say that. And then she couldn't pronounce Julian Assange's name. It's like, oh, she's not kidding. She's really not political.
She's not kidding. Yeah, Barnes, ask her if you ever want to make fun of her. Ask her ideas on Palestine and Israel. Hilarious.
Robert, how did she pronounce I can't think of another way to pronounce Julian Assange. Did she say Assange or Assange?
It was like a verse, more like a Sangi.
Okay.
It was something that showed she hadn't even heard the name before. So so it was a fascinating, but it's this fascinating community that the only thing they really share in common is an interest in returning culture to its entertainment roots without it being infiltrated by politics, without it being dominated or corrupted by woke politics in particular. But, you know, the thing, I mean, destroying even the great Tolkien brand with the Rings of Power, which was atrocious. I mean, to me, I became aware of it really with sort of Gamergate all the way back when I was studying that for betting on the 2016 election, when there was this assault on games that somehow they're inherently bad because they're man and all this other stuff. They're too masculine and whatever. And then people fought back against the scandal that it was. But I realized there's something a lot more going on here. But it's been very interesting seeing what you could, I guess, loosely call the Friday Night Tights community after the Friday Night Tights show that, you know, Nick Rekieta is sort of embedded with. I mean, Rekieta started out commenting, people forget, on anime-related legal issues. You know, he didn't start out as a trial guy. He started totally, and I didn't even know what anime was. I was like, what in the world is this anime? And then people told me to watch Cowboy Bebop. Also, what was that? There's like two others they watched. And I started watching. I was like, yeah, it's kind of good. It's like animated Japanese kind of thing. But that there's broader import here. What's happening in our culture ultimately is going to be showing up in our politics.
Well, and
Any-
it's seeping into everything, Robert, just like the video game thing. I mean, you brought up Hogwarts Legacy and the idea of that.
and can you explain to people what the heck's
Yeah,
happening?
you need to start from the ground up on that one. This is J.K. Rowling, a video game based on J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. By the way, I told the chat I've never seen one episode of the Game of Thrones. I've never seen one video of Harry Potter. But I understand they made a video game out of it. Now, J.K. Rowling got in trouble back in the day for saying trans women are not women, or they're not biological women.
Yes. So here's the issue, right? Because she did that, and of course that's her right. I mean, she's a woman, and if anything, she's actually a feminist. So she's a feminist, and that's why they call her a TERF. And what's interesting to me though is that JK, as much as I love the fact that she's standing up now, she's part of the problem. So originally, when she wrote Harry Potter, she wrote Harry Potter the way she did, and then years later, she started to kind of see you get more traction if you talk good stuff about like the LGBTQ crowd. So all of a sudden, it's like she came out with a statement that Dumbledore is gay. Now, Viva, you don't know who Dumbledore is, but Dumbledore is one of the main characters, one of the main male characters of Harry Potter. And he is, he's the main wizard that teaches Harry Potter a lot of things. Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Dumbledore, the big bearded guy?
Yes.
Is that, who's the actor that does that guy?
I forget
Great
his
actor.
name.
Great
There
actor.
was
He's
two.
famous. Not Richard Harris. Is it Richard Harris?
There was two because one of them passed away.
So they turn that old man. There's nothing. Not that old men can't be gay, but just like it seems it would have been baked into the character from well into the past and not just brought up.
Right.
Richard Harris looks like one of the, or Michael Gambon.
Yes.
Jude Law was in this movie.
Jude Law is in Fantastic Beasts. He's not so much in
okay.
He's not so much in Harry Potter.
That Johnny Depp got kicked out of over the Amber Heard case.
That's right.
So they turn this old character who has a history of never having any mention of being gay all of a sudden into gay.
Well, not that they did. She did. She came out and she said, by the way, guys, when I wrote Dumbledore, he was gay. And everyone was like, there's no paragraph that says Dumbledore is gay. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he's not gay at all. And so the LGBTQ community was like, oh my God, yay, J.K. Rowling, yay, Dumbledore's gay, and everyone was like, no, he's not. And then so fast forward into the future, and all of a sudden, things are getting out of hand, and J.K. Rowling is like, hey man, maybe women are women and men are men. And that's what I think. I think there's two genders, and everyone lost their shit. And it's like, you betrayed us, JK. We hate you. All the worst things you could possibly imagine. Ever since then, it's been this insane thing about how she's a TERF and she's trying to kill trans people, and her words are murder, and all this kind of stuff. And anything to do with Harry Potter is canceled now, technically. So that's why they even they just invited her to the 20th year anniversary. They didn't there was this whole thing that they did. They didn't want her there anymore. The people who worked on Harry Potter, one of the main actors came out and was like, I love my time in Harry Potter, but I don't stand with J.K. Rowling, even though he is who he is, like Daniel Radcliffe. He is who he is because of her and her property. But a lot of people have turned on her now because of her stance. And now this game, Hogwarts Legacy, Hogwarts is the castle of Harry Potter, where he goes to learn magic. So this game, Hogwarts Legacy, has actually nothing to do with Harry Potter because it's set 100 years before the events of Harry Potter. But just because it has to do with being in the Harry Potter world, it's murder, and whoever plays it is a TERF. They are terrible people.
TERF is I just looked it up and I never even, I know the words, trans exclusionary radical feminist. That is a term that is intending to demonize women, biological women who want to fight for the rights of biological women. So they are now not just feminists, radical feminists who are trans exclusionary.
Yes.
My good, not using the Lord, my good God. Oh my God. I never I never rationalized what that term meant. Trans exclusionary radical feminists. So they take a feminist and now they demonize feminists.
Mhm.
Okay.
Even though feminists are basically kind of part of the problem as well. I mean, neo-feminists are why we're here, because they wanted the whole equal rights thing, and now we are men. Like it's become to a point where, oh, like let's just, it's, I don't know if you've seen that meme Viva, where it's just like, oh, like we wanted equal rights, and now equal rights mean we are men, and like that becomes like that's the meme now. It's like feminists worked to get us to become actual men, and that's just like, that's why it drives me nuts, because I'm a classical feminist. Like my mom was a classical feminist. We just wanted equal rights, like in terms of like, I just want to be able to go outside by myself, like not have a man escort me. Sure. Like I just want to go to work. I want to be able to have a choice to go to work or stay at home. The right of choice was originally the idea of feminism. And then it changed, to equal opportunity, equal outcome, blah, 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 which is all bullshit. And now like, this is where we are. So it's like they call, like, yes, of course they're attacking feminists, and they're attacking, people like even Bette Midler. I don't know if you saw a few months ago, Bette Midler came out and was like, stop calling women like birthing people, and stop calling them like, menstruating people. Like we're women,
She took flack for that. And by the way,
did.
Nina, to illustrate on a provincial level, some people might not know this in Quebec, why my wife and I, we have different last names, because in Quebec, when they passed the Marriage Act in 1976, it forbade a woman from willingly taking the name of her husband, even if she wanted to. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, so true women's rights, women's liberation in Quebec, not the rest of Canada, I don't think, means that the woman no longer even has the choice, because she would undoubtedly be subjected to the undue pressure of her husband to take the last name. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was a women's lib in Quebec.
Now, what's been happening with The Witcher?
Oof, The Witcher, that's a whole other story too. But just to close out that scenario with Hogwarts, by the way, there was also a blacklist made. I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter or not, but somebody went and made an actual like fascistic blacklist to report in anyone you see streaming the game, so that people can go and harass them in their chats, like and get them taken down.
This is insanity. This is because presumably J.K. Rowling gets some royalties for the game because it has an element of her book.
Yeah.
And oh my, so the people who call everyone Nazis are taking names and organizing brigades to go carry out digital harassment campaigns. I was gonna make an analogy to another era, but I don't want to get in trouble. So digital campaigns of harassment and destruction of villages, but digitally. They're actually doing what the Nazis
they did, and the commies. I mean, that's why I say it's like a digital blacklist. Like it's literally that. And then it's so crazy because I reported that list. I got an email, and because I reported it, and I was like, this is targeted harassment. They're actually telling people to go and harass these people. And Twitter came back with like, oh, we're sorry, but this is not harassment. And, we're sorry, this is not what we wanted to hear, but it's not. And I'm like, actually, yeah, it is. Meanwhile, like hashtag free Brittany Venti, like this guy's not going to get suspended over like, talking about making targeted harassment campaigns to go harass Twitch streamers that are like streaming this game. But, God forbid Brittany Venti asks anything about Eliza Blue, because that can't be. Now, with The Witcher, that's a whole other story, because I actually had a very good conversation as well with the creator of the game, not the game, the TV show, The Witcher. Also another great example of what happens when intersectional feminism and all this kind of woke media takes over an IP and turns a Polish story that was about a man protecting some women. Well, the main stories were women. Like it was Ciri and Yennefer were the main characters of the books, but it was seen through the eyes of Geralt of Rivia, which is the main guy, and that was the guy that the video game the Witcher series video game was made on. And so then Henry Cavill gets casted to portray the Witcher, and everything goes to shit, because even though Henry Cavill's perfect as the Witcher. The script and everything about it is making him like the second fiddle to the women, and just making all of the cast like just insanely woke and terrible, especially the second season. I mean, that was just next level. And then Henry Cavill quits because it was his passion project, and he was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with this. I'm out. So he quit because he was told that he was going to be Superman again. But then they pulled the rug from under him, and now he's not going to be Superman anymore. But then because he was told he was being Superman, he was like, I'm going to walk away from The Witcher. He did. Now we're going to get a season 4, supposedly, because they filmed season 3 with him, even though they haven't dropped it yet. Season 4 is with Chris Hemsworth's brother. We call him Discount Hemsworth. That's Thor, for those of you guys that don't know. It's Thor's brother in the Marvel series.
I haven't heard Discount Hemsworth. Now, have you seen the one show? I think it's the only good show Disney has produced since it started its streaming service, but only because the writer had carte blanche to do what he wanted because of his unique history. Have you seen Andor?
No, I haven't, because I don't watch Disney Star Wars anymore. I've boycotted Disney Star Wars after what happened with The Last Jedi, which I explained to you earlier. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with Star Wars. I'm done with this IP that wants to destroy the heroes that I love, because it wasn't just Luke that they destroyed. They destroyed Han. They destroyed Leia. So I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. So I didn't watch any more Disney Star Wars. I completely boycotted it. And then I heard people were saying that Andor was the, best Star Wars show. But a lot of people who love Star Wars and watched it say it's nothing like Star Wars. It's very, very little like Star Wars. So that's why people like it a lot, is that it's the least Star Wars thing that there is, which to me is a ridiculous idea when you pay, like, I think it was like, what, $4 billion to buy an IP, and then you make it the least like the IP, and that's your most successful show. So I'm not down with Disney right now, which is saying a lot, because as I said to you guys earlier in the chat, Disney was a huge part of my life growing up. I risked my life for Disney. So my parents' lives, we loved Disney, and then they betrayed us. They betrayed me. So I'm very down on that company. And now they groom kids, which is a whole other topic. So I'm just not down with Disney anything.
I don't want to get back to the Eliza Blue thing, but there was something that I realized that I forgot to ask. What the hell is the scandal that happened with Tim Pool now? Like,
ooh, okay. So
I mean,
that's the new update.
And so
Yeah, that's
I just
the new
I don't like gossip, and I don't like and I'm not into it. But I heard that there's stuff, and like I heard someone said that Tim Pool suggested, intimated, or stated that, or gave credibility to the idea that there's a paid PR firm behind the attack campaign on Eliza.
Yes.
And I don't know what the hell's going on. The world is going mad, even within the sane element of the insane world.
Yeah, and this is actually a really good question for you guys as well, Barnes and Viva, because you guys are lawyers. And so what's going on with Twitter right now is kind of insane, because one of the things that it keeps bringing up, and I think it's Ella Irwin is her name, the woman that's the new trust and safety issue person. So she has commented a whole bunch of times about how there is legal ramifications about what's going on with regards to Eliza Blue. Now, I don't know whether she means that Eliza has filed a suit with regards to Brittany Venti or any of the actual other people that were suspended or whatever, like the quartering who ended up deleting his tweet, or if it's that Eliza is suing the original video that Brittany ended up tweeting about, the I think it's called World Star Hip Hop. Yeah. So whether there's either way, there's apparently some sort of legal ramification. Now, that's my question to you guys. If you guys answer that, I'll clarify what the Tim Pool thing is before you do. So the Tim Pool thing happened because when this stuff started to happen, everybody was kind of like, well, why aren't people commenting about the censorship story? Because it is censorship on Twitter. Why aren't the big giant people that especially have platformed her commenting about this? specifically, people like Tim Pool, because Tim Pool had her on twice on his show. And so just like with the whole Jack Murphy thing, people started to go into Tim Pool's chat and be like, kind of like demand answers as to like, why did you have her on? And, all this kind of stuff. And you know how the internet can be. They can be pretty weird and vicious sometimes. And very annoying, spamming the chat. So they did. And Tim, I guess, got really pissed off. Now, meanwhile, Tim had apparently sent this other guy, I think his name is Shane Cashman. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm
I
very
think
bad
it's
with names.
Shane Cashman is the guy who wrote the art. He works with Tim
Yes.
Katz, is doing the multi-part series on Eliza.
Yes. So
Okay.
meanwhile, he had sent this guy to go and interview Eliza and do this interview, but he didn't really mention it before. So like in the weeks, building up to this moment where he blew up, he didn't really tell anyone that he's sending this guy. We found out later on that like through Eliza's tweet that she's with this guy and he's with Tim Cass and she's being interviewed and blah, 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 blah. But meanwhile, like people are just getting madder and madder because Tim just keeps ignoring everybody in the chat, being like, why aren't you addressing this situation? And finally, he decides to address it, like I think 2 days ago, where he just kind of he just went off the handle. First of all, mouthed somebody off, told him to get the F out of his chat. And, if you don't want to be my thing, then get out, kind of thing. And then after that, he went off about this PR firm situation, which was really gaslighting the issue because everybody knew that the reason that everyone was mad at Tim was because of the censorship. And the main issue was the censorship of how Eliza's using her weight of knowing Ella Irwin, Elon Musk, and all these other people to get her way. And the fact that she apparently helped rewrite the new Twitter rules to address child pornography on Twitter, even though apparently no one's really actually seen the results from that. I mean, I haven't checked. I don't really know what's going on with that, but a lot of people are saying like she hasn't really done much, like to her credit. But because of that, people were like, well, why aren't you addressing it? And like when Tim finally addressed it, he's like, I don't know why people are obsessed with this woman. So he's just like gaslighting everybody. And everybody was like, well, why? Why? And then he went off about this PR firm thing, which, to be fair, the PR firm thing does exist. A lot of people do that kind of stuff, especially if you're someone who's, not in the good light or something, like maybe somebody like Andy Dick or somebody, if you have extra money and you have really bad publicity right now, you'll go pay someone to make you look good. Or create drama to make you trending and stuff like that. But that's not how this happened. It happened really organically through Brittany Venti's tweet.
And just to stop you there, like maybe I'm ignorant, and Robert, you'll probably tell me I'm wet behind the ears, but I've heard of PR firms to reestablish a reputation. I've never really, other than in politics with research opposition, like when it comes to this level infighting, I don't know who pays a PR firm to go after somebody. Like, and if it's true, I'd like to know. I heard that the Tim Pool getting angry at the person who said I'm gonna unsubscribe. I can understand that. It's very irritating when people like the crowdfunding because it allows for independence of the creator, while simultaneously saying I'm going to unsubscribe from you if you take a position I don't like. Well, then you're beholden to the community.
Or take no position, which is what Tim was doing, because he wasn't really taking a position because he wasn't saying anything. And that's why a lot of people were like, well, I'm just going to unsub because you're not even talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, this is news that I want you to talk about and you're not talking about it. And you're right, Viva. I mean, I think that Tim had no obligation in talking about it at all. Like, I think that what Tim should have done was be like, I'm aware of this situation. Just acknowledge that there is a situation, they're aware of it, and that he's sending someone to go do an article about her very early on in what was going on. That's all he had to say, really. And then people would have been fine with it. I think people would have been fine. It's just the no acknowledgement and just ignoring it every night. People get mad, right? But with the PR firm thing, I think it does exist, like, especially for celebrities who, basically, like I said, like aren't in the best of terms with what's going on. Maybe they've fallen out because they haven't virtual signaled hard enough or whatever. They'll hire a PR firm to either make them famous through like some sort of small scandal that they can control, like it's like a controlled scandal, so that they can get them trending, or for whatever reason, like they'll make them virtue signal or something to make them, like you put this tweet out about the LGBTQ or whatever, and then you'll become trending and you'll be famous and whatever. So they do that, but I don't think anyone's doing that in this case. Certainly not Brittany Venti, and certainly not Chrissy Mayer. And if they are, I haven't gotten paid, so I would like my check. I don't know what's going on, who's paying people, but I haven't gotten paid yet. So I'm
I'm very familiar with all those actors, and I know many of them in Hollywood, that you have both people who run campaigns for you, disguised campaigns for you by creating a fake controversy that gets you into the news to get you circulation and attention, and that run smear campaigns. Now, the smear campaigns, like in Hollywood, historically have been run by the big studios against disfavored actors.
Yeah.
Sometimes just to run down the negotiation. The NFL teams do it against certain players.
Yes,
right?
yes.
They did it against Jimmy Garoppolo earlier this year. The 49ers did, in order to get him back on staff, and did not have a attractive trade offer made. They said he was awful in all these ways. It was totally false. So it happens in big prominent legal cases. You'll have PR campaigns on the other side being run against either your client or sometimes you. But I agree. The spin that Eliza's telling that originated with Tim Pool, that there's a professional, sophisticated PR campaign against little Eliza Blue, who is just about to break the big scandals involving human trafficking. And that's why there's this dark campaign out there that has snookered in Brittany Venti and the quartering and that Star Wars girl. She's just been deceived into being part of this campaign against poor Eliza. And that the legal issues of, that lawsuits are coming and are affiliated with it. Now, there probably is a little kernel of truth, not professional, but my guess is that the original source of people who started looking into Eliza's history, and we put her on before because I liked the work she was doing of exposing Twitter's problem connected to human trafficking and profiting from human trafficking. But as soon as she started weaponizing her power to censor people for asking questions about her past, both Viva and I had reached out to her, and she basically said, talk to her lawyer. Wrong.
Oh, wow.
By the way, just word of the wise, never go full Jack Murphy.
Robert,
kind of where she went. And then everything related to the way Tim Pool is handling it is not the most ideal way, in my opinion. You're right. There was a simple way for him to handle it. I know he hates this because I harassed him once when he was interviewing John Pierce. And this is someone who, and I love Cassandra Fairbanks, now Cassandra McDonald. She's a sweetheart. She's a great mother to her kid. But, of course, she's blocked me on Twitter, even though I've given her and her husband free legal representation, saved her husband substantial revenues that he was at risk for, given who he's going up against, for free. Doesn't matter. But in representing Kyle Rittenhouse, Cassandra got close. She keeps getting close to grifters. And people are now even associating Julian Assange with that, which is utterly absurd and insane.
Wow.
The work Cassandra did with Assange was very legitimate, very clean, very noble, very right, very righteous. People should not confuse the two. But she is now the booker at Tim Pool. But she had brought John Pierce in, scuzzbag, bottom barrel, lawyer, cocaine-addled, wife-beating, historical fraudster, grifter, if he's out there. He had weaseled his way into Kyle Rittenhouse's case and made Kyle's life a living hell by his mistakes and misrepresentations. And then he was weaseling into the January 6th defendants, by whom he's achieved, to my knowledge, not one single positive success of any kind. He's weaseling himself into vaccine mandate cases, causing all kinds of problems currently. The guy's a scam artist. He has debts running. He keeps changing the name of his law firm to escape his last creditor. But she brought him on, and so I kept challenging. Kyle's family was very agitated about how he was appearing as if he was still somehow connected to the Rittenhouse case. And I kept super chatting Tim Pool, which clearly annoyed him. He didn't like it. I get it. He doesn't like being confronted on these issues. But just as he promoted Jack Murphy assertively, that's why people were haranguing him about saying something about it. And the quartering's point Murphy used Tim Pool's platform to get a lot of money in terms of certain things. And then and both Viva and I were not, we didn't jump on the bash Jack Murphy train, but when he kept, derailing the train, well, it is what it is. Here, Eliza has clearly, and her supporters, continued to derail the train. Try to get, YouTube strikes that don't make sense. Now, I think some of the backstory is it's probably the case that people who are putting this information out there, sending it to Brittany and other people, probably are connected to Andrew Tate, because she's connected to accusers of Andrew Tate. It's not clear whether it's credible accusations. It's not clear whether those accusers even exist in the same way. Connected to some lawyers who are trying to compare Tate to Epstein and consume money is the reality of it. It's a sad reality in the human trafficking space. You get some lawyers who are interested in it for reasons different than nobility and morality. These are some of the same lawyers who sued Dershowitz, in my opinion, on bogus grounds. They knew that the accusations against him were wrong. Eliza's actually, this is who Christy Meyer, I don't think she realized it, but the connection that Eliza had was to an organization that was connected to the lawyers that were doing that. So I think, there may be people who are fans of Andrew Tate may be waging a PR war against Eliza Blue, but the most of it is you don't upset the nerds on the internet. And you don't wage war on the quartering. I mean, I have a lot of more respect for him after all this. I was always a fan, but he's clearly a stand-up guy, even when there's risk in his face, even if there's risk to his. And Tim Pool blocking him and interpreting.
Oh, that was
but
that's just lame. That is lame.
In fairness,
weak. It was weak.
I'll continue to say nice things about Tim Pool, but that's lame, Tim. That's lame. That's not the way to go about it. The quartering is a great voice, great guy, great person. Eliza's in the wrong here. That's the reality of it. She probably made up most of her human trafficking history. I get it. She wanted to be famous, lots of reasons. She should have focused on the good work she's doing now, not focused on her past. And she should never have weaponized her political access to censor critics or questioners. It was wrong. And how hard is it to just say that, Pool? Tim, it's not that hard. Now he's going to have a permanent meme where he has Eliza Blue's hair on his head.
No, he's got Jack Murphy's beard. It's like I'll just say one thing. I'll say two things, actually. I never jumped on the Jack Murphy bandwagon because I did view that to be something much more personal, much more in his history with absolutely no political or policy impact. Other people were saying, well, he's selling himself as an alpha male. I was like, okay, fine. If you don't like it, don't buy the product.
Right.
Funny thing, I did get in trouble with Jack Murphy on our interview because I did suggest that he seemed very angry, which now in retrospect makes a lot more sense. And then we had a bit of a fight, and then everyone was making fun of the fight that I got, chewed out on my own stream. When it came to Eliza, whether or not she lied, and there's a whole, whether or not she has an issue with her past is one thing. It was the blocking of the quartering on Twitter, where we got new management, which is now acting just like the old management, and whatever mistakes she made, it was the censorship that was the problem. And with Tim Pool, I liked him, and there's no but to that. The blocking of the quartering that's a Scott Adams blocking Robert Barnes move, which the internet is going to mock.
To say that. Yeah, you reminded me. Hey, Tim, never go full Scott Adams.
No, but Nina, so you're
drama.
Getting how I don't know. Like I always say, high school never ends; it just gets bigger. What do you think of all this drama?
It does. It's so high school, and that's the thing. Like my focus on the whole story too was the censorship. I was just like, hey, my friend's being censored. My other friends are being censored. Like, what's going on? Twitter said it was changing. I've been reading the Twitter files. I see, whatever is going on with the Twitter like censorship. Their dealings with the FBI, which, by the way, Camelot claims that Eliza Blue has some sort of connections with the FBI as well. And apparently somebody close to him that he knows that knew her is going to be dropping some info soon about that. Apparently that's coming. So
I know she keeps digging a grave.
This rabbit hole.
And deeper and deeper.
Oh.
It's getting crazy, and there's going to be more stuff. So there's going to be some FBI stuff that's coming too. But like that was the issue, though, is the issue was censorship. And then after that happened, like now there's like internet drama, which I'm not really into the internet drama. Like I think the whole thing, I actually think the drama between the quartering and Tim Pool is counterproductive to the actual issue, which was censorship. And now it's just become like this whole thing, like, oh, the quarterings fans versus Tim Pool's fans and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, that's just taking away from the actual issues. And also like same thing with Cassandra. Like I know a lot of people didn't like her, and a lot of people didn't, like the fact that she didn't like Brittany Venti because she disinvited Brittany Venti from Tim Pool's show. And to me, like, I don't know if I would necessarily call that censorship on Cassandra's part, because even though it may seem like that, this is a private show. So Tim Pool is a private show. It has nothing to do with the government. So I don't necessarily think it's a government. This is their prerogative. That's one of the things I learned about YouTube is you do your thing on your channel and you can invite whoever you want. You don't invite whoever you want. And you talk about whatever you want on your channel. And that's in everybody kind of respects that. We all kind of know that. And, it's just like an unsaid thing. And I think it's their prerogative if they want to invite Brittany Venti or not. It's none of my business. But what happened with them, because they have beef and like now it's become this like Mean Girls thing. It's insane, but like, because Cassandra, I guess, has like a shady past, and like people started posting her pics and like, all this kind of stuff. And that stuff I'm not down with, because I don't even care. Like, even if I'm not friends with Cassandra, which I'm not, and we've had many disagreements.
She's been the actual victim of revenge porn in the past and people should definitely not now. Yeah, they shouldn't go down that path. Cassandra's history is not what
they are, and that makes me sick, and I don't like it, and I think it's counterproductive to everything that we're trying to do with regards to the censorship thing. And even like, if you're a Brittany Venti fan and you're going around doing that, that's not doing her any favors, so don't do that. Like that kind of thing I think is just counterproductive, and I wish it would stop, but it won't.
It's not like they're the president and vice president of our current administration, where the vice president's husband just goes up and gives the president's wife a nice little kiss on the lips. That's totally normal, right?
What the hell was that?
Oh my God.
That suggested something else is going on in the White House.
You know what? I saw that happen, and I got into it.
He was getting sick at the visual.
No, I'm going to YouTube, Robert. Give me a second.
I have it. You want me to pull it up? Because I have I actually got into it with a couple people today because I mentioned like that was really gross. And people were like, "Oh, that's really like that's nothing. That's like just a kiss on the like a peck on the cheek and like blah blah blah." And I'm like, that is not a peck on the cheek. Like that's straight up.
Hold on a second.
That's a
Why
kiss.
can't window in oh, here it is. Here it is. Chrome tab. Crazy. First Lady Jill Biden. What's going on? Is this it? Oh, we see this.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's see what happens here. I would have liked it in regular motion, but
it looks worse in slow-mo.
Ah.
And during COVID? Oh my God. Oh, that noise
vaccinated.
Noise is horrible.
On national TV at the State of the Union.
Degenerates, Robert. Hollywood. Nina, stay out of Hollywood, stay out of politics. Degenerate perverts. Top to bottom.
So wait, you guys don't think that was an innocent peck on the cheek that a grandma gives to like their kid or something like that? Because that's what people were telling me today.
You know who tells you that? Perverts.
Yeah, well, I mean, the woman who Joe Biden molested as a kid right on TV at a C-SPAN event, and it looked like he was molesting her, has now come out and said that's exactly what he did in terms of where his hands were, right? And while cameras are rolling. I mean, it's just deeply disturbing. But it's like, why does Hollywood always have to, like, they do a plot twist, they think, what are we going to do? Oh, yeah, we'll do some incest. And it's like, why? Why does it show up all the time? Like, ruins TV shows and movies. It's like, what is
You can blame Game of Thrones for that one, man, because everybody wants to be Game of Thrones. So they're like, you know what? Let's just throw some incest in there.
Now that you and I think, Robert, I think I've mentioned it before, but like now you mentioned it, that stepbrother, step-in-law porn. Like when I was listening to Howard Stern back when he was funny, I guess in 2016. I have to go by the car that we had because we had Sirius XM in the car, and I would otherwise. He was always talking about this, like this trend of this. It's disgusting, terrible, nastiness. Politics and Hollywood, they're all. But no, that's not innocent. And anyone kisses my wife or my my kids, I like that. Oh no, I'm not a violent person. I probably wouldn't get violent, but they would hear something about it. I would write a sternly worded letter to the president. I would, and tell him that that's not appropriate. Okay, that's gross. Well, now I have that visual in my head.
Did you, Viva? I just put another. It's a little Biden gaff from the
Oh yes,
the
the
Oh, in
speech
private
today.
chat.
if you send, I will veto it.
Yeah, that one. That
Yeah,
hold on,
I put that in the private chat on that's
let
the
me see
last
this.
thing I sent. The
Under-
other one that I sent you is that Ella Irwin comment that she
okay.
made about the legal issues. That she
Yeah,
was
I
like,
didn't.
"Oh,
I
this is-"
forgot. I put the what the fuck's up with Project Veritas?
Oh yeah,
and-
I mean they're making stories in Twitter terms. Well, there may be civil or criminal cases pending, and that's why we can't comment on certain ways.
Mhm.
I seriously doubt that is in fact the case concerning Eliza Blue. I think that's a cover story to deter and discourage people, and a pretext and a fig leaf to justify Twitter's wrongful censorship.
Here,
Hmm.
let me bring this one up if I can do this. This looks like it's going to be good because it's Joe Biden. He's going to say something that nobody's going to understand. Savannah Hernandez, here we go.
Make no mistake. If you try anything to raise the cost of producing jobs, I will veto it.
There's-
And then watch Kamala. Kamala's like,
Kamala Harris
"Yeah."
loves it. She's like, oh, this guy's such an idiot. I'll be president soon. Oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah,
Make no
totally.
mistake.
That is an angry scowl, and I don't think
He's
that's
the puppet. That puppet, Jeff Dunham's old angry old man character.
Yes,
Oh
that
my
one.
If you
God.
try anything to raise the cost of producing jobs, I will veto it.
Hey, God. Oh, yeah,
Oh my! Hold on. I haven't seen many things. I have seen House of Cards. That is a Claire Underwood,
Yes,
right
that-
there, right there.
That's a house of cards.
Oh,
The old
my.
the old knock.
Nina, whoa, it's been an hour and a half already. Holy cow! Okay, you mentioned your favorite movie as a child.
Mhm.
Two questions, two-part question. What's your favorite movie as an adult? What's your
Wow.
most detested movie as an adult? And what is the most mangled, bungled, destroyed by woke politics? I don't know. What do they call them? Trilogies or what are they called? Franchises out there.
Franchise? Wow, those are really difficult questions. Whew, okay. Favorite movie right now of all time would be The Matrix, the original, because that is the one that kind of made me wow, like yeah, I think we are in a freaking matrix sometimes. So yeah, that one, Matrix, blew me away. What the franchise that I think is destroyed more than all? I think that would be Star Wars. I think the Star Wars apathy is insane. I think the things that they've done to the IP is just next level. So honestly, it's a toss up between Star Wars and Star Trek because Star Trek is also a just gone. The good old days of Trek is gone. Viva, did you like Star Trek ever? Like,
no,
are you a Star Trek fan?
I never even liked the original Star Wars, and so that's why what people answer to this question, I think, is just what they consider to be their favorite.
Mhm.
That has been ruined. I haven't even seen. I think I saw the new Ghostbusters. In fact,
Oh,
I did.
God.
That was the one that if I had to answer that question, I think it's the only one I could answer. If they come
Mhm.
up with like a Back to the Future 4 woke version and destroy the first 3, that will take over. But
Mhm.
Ghostbusters was the only one I liked. I never liked Star Trek, never liked Star Wars, never liked any of this fantasy stuff, which I guess is saving me a lot of time because I don't.
Yeah, it is. But I guess I'm going to tell you top 3: Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings, the new Rings of Power, is just the most. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's like it's next level. It's their own story. It's not even the Lord of the Rings. It's just their own story, their own intersectional feminist nightmare. The only thing that's the difference between that and what we're dealing with regards to Star Wars and Star Trek is the fact that the Lord of the Rings fandom was a lot stronger and stood up for the IP and stood up for J.R. Tolkien, whereas in the Star Wars and Star Trek fandom, just they let it go. They let it go and they let it happen. So I'm not very happy with them. There are plenty more, but I guess I'm gonna stick to those top 3. And then what was your last question? There
Oh,
was another one.
the one was it was the worst movie you've ever seen, but that was
Worst.
just
Okay, worst movie I've ever seen. Wow,
worse, it
there's
could be
so many.
technically the worst movie, like Leonard Part 6 bad movie, or it could be like Gaspar Noé type worst movie you've ever seen.
Wow. I think I don't know why I'm just gonna say this because it's just, I mean, aside from The Last Jedi and all of the other ones, I'm just gonna say the worst movie I think I've ever seen is the movie Beach Bum with Matthew McConaughey. I was like, this is 2 hours of my life I will never get back. Like it was just the most awful movie. It was so random. I don't know how I even ended up watching it to begin with because I was like, oh, I like Matthew McConaughey. Let me check this out. And it just turned out to be fucking garbage. So there you go. That's the worst movie ever.
Yeah, what are some favorite things that you're watching now? Some things that might actually be good going into
Ooh,
the Oscars?
okay, that's a good question. Really good stuff to watch now. So I actually do a stream where I talk about good things that I love as well. Like on my Sunday entertainment channel, I'm not always talking about bad stuff. I actually talk about good stuff. So it's really good stuff right now. Tulsa King, Paramount Plus with Sylvester Stallone. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Really good stuff. Got Reacher and Terminal List, both on Amazon. Really, really, really good stuff. Right now, I'm watching a show that's actually older. It's called Atlanta. I just got it. I started getting into it, and I really like it. So that one's really good. What else? What else? What else? Oh, there is one show it's got one season so far. It's called Severance on Apple Plus, and that one just, whoo, really good series. Really good
Severance
series.
is
Check it out.
that's the one about people who work at a job.
Yes, yes.
And they've totally different identities in their job versus real life, and then they cross over their memories at some point.
Yes,
I
yes,
saw
yes,
a
yes.
commercial for that. It stuck with me. Haven't seen it.
It's really good, Viva. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. I did not think it would be that good, but it was.
Yeah, Tulsa King is fantastic. Written by the same guy who's writing the Yellowstone series and all that. So it's fantastic.
I'm going to be getting into Yellowstone soon, actually, because we're gonna start reviewing every season, like season by season. I actually hadn't seen Yellowstone, so I'm really looking forward to getting into that IP and getting
Han
into
Solo
the westerns.
plays in one of the prequels. He plays in the 1923.
Yeah.
Just released.
Yeah. Harrison Ford. I heard. I'm gonna watch it. I'm definitely gonna watch all that guy, the guy that's making all of these. He's like the new up and coming, like he's the new kind of like, I don't know. I don't really gonna call him Scorsese. I don't know. The one of the best directors in Hollywood right now. I think he's stretching himself a little too thin because there was actually a news release yesterday or the day before about how they might end up ending Yellowstone in a weird way because Costner is having difficulty with his scheduling because he's working on his own passion project, and now they want to maybe do another spin-off series with Matthew McConaughey of all people. Which shout out to Matthew though. I really like him. He's a good dude. I think he was running for Texas governor a while ago. I don't know what happened with
thought
that.
about it. He thought about it and then backed off. He
didn't do
lives
it?
up in Malibu where I lived for a long time. Very nice guy, very chilled, has that, old school. John Grisham helped give him his first start. Grisham really liked him and when he auditioned for the role of the young lawyer in A Time to a Kill.
Oh, that's such a good movie, man. That's a good
all
movie.
the Grisham stuff is pretty good. Pelican Brief, The Firm, The Client, a lot of subtextual education in those films.
Yeah, all
I
those
love
good movies.
Andor. I have, of the two Oscar movies, we'll have Odin on at some point too. He lives in my hometown, Chattanooga. I know he's from New Orleans. But I think of the Oscar movie, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably going to win because that's the kind of Hollywood, good. It was popular and it's culturally acceptable because it has the little bit of the lesbian daughters acceptance and all. So, but
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't know if it's going to win Barnes because it's indie. It's not really a studio movie, and usually indies are very difficult to win an Oscar. Like, I mean, if it wins, I would be very surprised.
And then I did really like Bullet Train. It reminded me of
Bullet
Grosse
Train
Pointe
was
Blank.
great.
It was like Grosse Pointe Blank style with a comedic, sardonic side. All these great action sequences with
absolutely
the trains, with the sort of the Japanese imagery in the background. That was pretty cool.
Bullet Train was awesome. I was really concerned because Brad Pitt showed up at a red carpet premiere for that in a skirt. And I was like, why? Why are all the men wearing skirts now? Like, what is this thing where men that I've loved all my life, like Brad Pitt, who's freaking amazing. Like, I mean, have you seen Brad Pitt and Troy? I mean, I know you guys are dudes. You're probably not into that, but still.
No, Brad Pitt.
I got a lot of Brad Pitt stories that involve those things he wasn't supposed to be doing.
Don't do it, Robert.
Oh no, Barnes,
Brad Pitt in Fight Club was my people used to say I looked like Brad Pitt.
I think I was introduced to him in Thelma and Louise. He was good in Thelma and Louise. Also, he was really good in True Romance. People forget he was
the pothead.
True Romance.
Amazing.
Oh, wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's
everyone has to
right.
rewatch True. I just watched True Romance with my kid, the oldest one. That movie is still. That was my favorite movie of all time.
All I'll say about Brad Pitt is I never looked at the bar at the Beverly Hills Hotel the same way after I found out about certain stories involving
Oh
Brad
my
Pitt.
God, you're gonna have to tell me
off air.
Barnes.
It's gossip and
Off
it's
air.
rumors.
But I will tell you this, Viva, though, like after that, I was worried about this because he showed up in a skirt and I was like, what is this movie gonna be like? And I was so happy that it wasn't. It was very, very good.
I actually saw Bullet Train. I was on a plane with my kid, and every time someone was getting killed, I had to put my hand in between the screen, and then the flight attendant's like, "Here, you want a menu? It'll be easier to block it." But
oh my God, that's funny.
but it was that violence was cartoonish enough that no one would take it seriously. Unlike
credit to the memes in the locals chat. I am liking all the Donald Trump Valentine's cards. Those are great.
Oh, nice.
I build a wall around us. Violets are rigged. Roses are rigged. Everything is rigged.
Can you share one? I can't see it.
I'm gonna see if I can bring this one up. This one is just AOC. I just happened to click on the AOC one. Now,
oh my God.
Yeah, we have to do this. This will be okay. So if I bring up an image, hold on. Let me close my everything here. Where's the? Okay, so if I bring this up in the backdrop, let me see if I can do this. Okay. All right, good. Now if I go to the window, now I go to share screen, present, share screen. Oh. Okay. Do we see this?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so this is AOC.
Oh no.
I don't even know what the context is for this. But that's okay.
What the hell?
That's
it's because they're saying that cows, that's a new thing now, that gas from cows is bad for the environment. That's like a new thing.
That's funny. Well, and if anyone doesn't get the T2 reference in that, well then, Viva knows more about movies. Nina, where can people find you? I've been sharing your Rumble channel around. I want to make sure to see if we can get that up there. Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, elsewhere?
Instagram. That's it.
And it is Nina. Well, your Instagram is not intuitive.
It's Nina Infinity, and on my YouTube channel, Nina 7 Infinity on Twitter, and I think Nina 7 Infinity on Instagram as well, or it might be Nina Infinity. Either way, it's one of those.
This has been great. So now everybody knows
Nina 7 Infinity.
Nina 7 Infinity on Instagram, and it's Nina Infinity on Twitter and Rumble.
No.
YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
Nina Infinity on YouTube. Nina 7 Infinity on Twitter and Instagram. There you go.
And on Rumble, you are on Rumble. I see.
Yeah. Nina Infinity. It's just Nina Infinity.
We're going to see we're going to see how much we can get that number up. We'll see. There's 5,000 people watching now. They'll know where to go. Nina, Robert, this has been lighthearted, and it actually made me feel a little better because the world is a dark, disgusting place. And
you got to come watch my show on Fridays if you're ever feeling down. Catch a replay. Talk about good things. Talk about good humans and cute animals. You won't be sorry, Viva. You'll love it.
All right. And by the way, I heard a dog barking in the background. What kind of dog do you have?
I don't have a dog. It's my neighbor's dog.
Yeah. Do they have a small yappy dog?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Now that it's not your dog, I can qualify that dog. All right, Nina. Everybody, thank you for coming. Tomorrow,
thank you for having me on, Viva.
Anytime, and we'll do it again, and we'll come over to you as well. Tomorrow, I'm live in local studio with Dave Rubin, 2:30 or 3 o'clock. Friday, I forget what's happening. Robert, Sunday. Oh no, Sunday is Super Bowl, so Sunday's stream is going to be on Monday. Yep. Everybody, Nina, Robert, stick around. We'll say our proper goodbyes. Everyone in the chat, thank you very much. Enjoy the evening. See you tomorrow.